Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever time of day this video finds you. It's your boy Jay, and today we're going to be talking about how Quematrice gives me hope for a couple of returning monsters to come back, right? So in the recent live stream we got with the Scarlet Forest gameplay, they showed us that, sometimes Quematrice gets jumped by some other smaller monsters, and both of these monsters have a similar niche in the Windward Plains, and that is to eat carrion. Right now, you see this on the website, and I thought it was just like a little bit of flavor text, a little bit of ecology, a little bit of lore, but no, this is an actual system in the game, in the gameplay, right? Where, as you hunt the monsters that you kill, when you carve them, you can stand on them now. They're actual objects in the game, rather than your hunter clipping through them and walking through them and you just kind of accepting it because it's a video game. And then over time, right, as you kill monsters, the body just kind of fades into nothing and another monster spawns in. Well, in Wilds, they seem to have implemented a system where instead of the body just kind of disappearing and you chalking it up to it being a video game, the body will actually decay and break down and become a bone pile, right? Much like we've had in the series already, but those were, placed purposely so that we can have, monster bone S, M, and L as parts that we can gather on the map. But you can organically create a bone pile by hunting a monster, getting your carves, leaving the carcass there, and it will break down over time and become a set of bones. That being said, there are also monsters on the map like Quematrice here and these small monsters here that it's their job to come and prey on the dead bodies, right? Much like real life, right? I mean, when you see roadkill on the road, sometimes you see some birds swarm around it and pick at the carcass. That's just what they do, vultures and stuff like that. So it's really cool that they've implemented this sort of system in Wilds with, real-time decaying bodies, and they have come up with monsters to serve as scavengers. Now, because they have created monsters that are specifically on the map to be scavengers, it really got me thinking. I was like, okay, has Monster Hunter, explored this concept before? And yes, there are two monsters that also skipped Rise and Sunbreak, but they were in World, that can really shine in this scavenger niche. The first one that came to mind is Odogaron. Yeah, our favorite red doggo of the Rotten Vale, Odogaron, man. So when you look at Odogaron's lair in the Rotten Vale, there's bones all over the place, right? And I've already talked about how bone piles form, after you hunt the monster and it becomes carrion. I mean, look at Odogaron's lair, right? This, like I said, has Monster Hunter explored this concept before? And Odogaron is, it wouldn't surprise me if Odogaron was the catalyst for them to make things like Quematrice and the small monsters we see and say, you know what? We need scavenger monsters on the map, because Odogaron is the scavenger of the Rotten Vale, right? And you also see this in a little scripted event. I tried to get him to do it again in my save, but I already have the Plunder Blade. But randomly, Legiana from the Coral Highlands will drop down to the Rotten Vale, right? And it'll be like a fresh body. The player can carve it, but if an Odogaron is in the area, he'll get to it and he'll drag the body all the way back to his lair as a means to I'm gonna eat this later. He's a real scavenger, you know what I'm saying? The dead body just fell from the Coral Highlands. He's dragging it all the way back to his lair and he's like, yeah, boy, I'm about to eat this up later, you know what I'm saying? He's a real scavenger. And this was the first monster that came to mind once I really came to grips with the fact that, this whole fighting other scavengers on the map is not just flavor text, and the whole systems, when it really came out, they're like, they're really doing this. Whoa, I guess Odogaron really does have a really good shot at coming back and being the scavenger monster of a different biome. I'd love to see it, and for this reason, I'd really love to see Odogaron come back and showcase himself as the scavenger that he really is, maybe in a different biome. So yeah, he's the first monster I thought about. But another monster I thought about was my favorite monster of all time. The myth, the legend himself, Deviljho. Of course I thought about Deviljho when I heard about there being scavenger monsters on the map known for eating dead bodies, which we know Deviljho does. We have footage of him eating dead bodies. Okay, we don't have footage of him actually eating his tail without the meat trick. If we do, drop it in the comments down below, link it below, because I used to think he was a tail eater, but we don't have a clip. How is it that we don't have a clip after all this time? Anyway, they have the chance to bring back Deviljho and do something hilarious. Make tails classified as a dead body and have Joe eat the tails, which includes his own, right? So yes, carry-on monsters on the map have a chance to make Joe pull up and do his thing and eat the bodies of a scavenger monster as well, and maybe speed up the process of it becoming a bone pile, right? Like I said, this is not new behavior for Deviljho. Deviljho has been doing this for years in many games. I'll be showing a clip of him doing this in GU even, right? Where, you know, after you kill a monster, he's gonna come by and he's gonna eat on the body as you carve it, you know? And he does this with monsters in a trap. He will chew on monsters that are in a trap. So it makes perfect sense to me to reincorporate Deviljho and have him show up in the game where he's gonna eat any and everything, because that's his thing. The hungry pickle, the insatiable Deviljho, right? He just makes too much sense with the given systems of him being the carry-on, and he can also serve in the invader role as well, and you know, he'll fight with other carry-ons, so it would make sense that Quematrice would have beef with a Deviljho, because Deviljho is willing to eat any and everything, and Quematrice is trying to eeat a dead body, and Deviljho's like, hey, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat you too while I'm at it, you know what I'm saying? Because Deviljho, he's a big boy, you know what I'm saying? He's a hungry boy. He's gonna eat anything and everything, living or dead. So yes, Odogaron and Deviljho are two monsters I primarily thought about upon learning that Quematrice is an actual scavenger in the locale, right? Are there any other monsters maybe from Frontier that I'm forgetting to talk about here? Let me know in the comment section down below. But this video is not only about monsters that could return. This video, from this point on, is actually going to speculate upon some new monster designs, right? Looking primarily at the hammer trailer, I think that armor set and weapon is going to be from another scavenger monster in the form of maybe a vulture inspired, pretty strong bird wyvern, right? I'm looking at the whole plague doctor vibe and like the poison vibes, and I think it's going to be a vulture inspired monster that's poisonous just due to its diet being mostly dead bodies, right? So it's going to have some poisonous effects because it eats carrion, it eats dead flesh, right? Stuff that is mostly not okay for other living beings to eat. So yeah, that has me excited to see the possibilities that Capcom could take monster design now that we have this quote-unquote new role in each environment, right? Like each environment has an apex, right? In Raydao and Uthduna, and then they also have, you know, starter monsters, things like Dodo Gamma, Tsuyaku, Chatacabra, right? These are like very, you know, low-level monsters to introduce the player to the locale. But now with this new system in place, with the bodies breaking down and turning into bone piles over time, now we have this new role in the ecosystem. Perhaps every map has some sort of scavenger monster or monsters that fight over the carrion created by the hunter, hunting many monsters over and over and over again. As we know, with wilds, it's supposed to be a big seamless experience. They're not booting us back to the lobby after every hunt, so like the bodies are gonna pile up. So it does make sense that we may need scavenger monsters to come and pick apart the dead bodies that we leave behind as we hunt chain hunt through the Forbidden Lands. So yeah, that's gonna be about it for today's video. Let me know how you're feeling about this new fact about Quematrice and it being a scavenger, and maybe this new role in each of the locales. Maybe every locale has a scavenger monster along with an apex and an intro monster and invader monsters, right? It's interesting that perhaps in Wilds we're getting this brand new role to the series. And let me know how you think about Odogaron and maybe Deviljho returning to fit into that new scavenger role. As always, happy hunting, people. Peace.